Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Hopefully your week is off to a great start. Here in Northwest PA, we got our first snowfall, so I figured I would share a quick PSA from our friends, Tesla owners online. Sticking on Twitter, if you're one of those people that can't hear the words Trump or Biden without getting triggered, please skip ahead. Also, I'm not choosing a side here, I'm simply sharing pertinent information. Gary Black retweeted a tweet from Anana X10 that said, according to the Tax Policy Center, Biden plans to restore the full EV tax credit permanently for US-made EVs, remove the per manufacturer cap, targeted to middle-income consumers making less than $250K a year. This would be massive for Tesla, and I could not agree more. Once again, I'm not choosing a side here, I'm just sharing information. Either way, there will be pros and cons, but if the cookie crumbles this way, that would be a major positive for Tesla. And I will also say, yes, there are no guarantees that this would happen, but I think it's worth sharing. Moving to a tweet from Ray for Tesla, I reported 5 days ago regarding the new regulation in Shanghai limiting out-of-city vehicles on major city roads. Now, EV sales is ticking up big time. This is how the Tesla store foot traffic looks during the day and night on the first day of the new policy. That policy, by the way, was covered in my most recent Toshikini video, The $8 Trillion Disruption. But Ray continued, one study estimates this new regulation alone may potentially create an addressable market for 130,000 made-in-China Model 3s in the near term in Shanghai. Currently, there are 1.7 million non-Shanghai registered vehicles operating in the city. Over the weekend, we got more information on Tesla's Powerhub. Now, this is not an actual physical product. This is a software program for Tesla Energy. Tesla explains it as, Powerhub is an advanced monitoring and control platform for managing distributed energy resources, renewable power plants, and microgrids. Powerhub is deployed and in use across Tesla's fleet over 1 gigawatt-hour of operating commercial sites. Customers ranging from facility managers to power plant operators use Powerhub to maximize operational efficiency, uptime, and asset value. Powerhub covers all common elements of supervisory control and data acquisition or SCADA systems and offers standard customizations to meet the operational needs of small, large, and virtual power plants. So basically, this software provides a single interface for managing many different energy assets, including solar, storage, and even non-Tesla assets like generators, breakers, and transformers. Without getting too far into the weeds for this episode, in order for Tesla to participate in the energy markets, they have to have software. As we know, Tesla has already done this with AutoBidder, which is operating at the Hornsdale Power Reserve, and they do offer that as a product. It really can't be overstated the importance of this software because the tricky thing about the grid is that supply and demand have to match in real time, or else frequency and voltage can deviate. This would result in damaging devices and ultimately blackouts. The grid itself has zero ability to actually store power, so the incoming power supply and outgoing power consumption have to be controlled in a way that would maintain balance. With the old style fossil fuel generation, supply could be turned up and down according to demand, and there was a relatively small number of plants to control. This made it pretty straightforward to maintain balance, but as more renewable energy generation comes to the grid, a few things will happen. First, there's reduced control. Generation cannot be as easily turned up to follow the demand, and you don't want to turn generation down or else you're going to lose some of that clean energy. Second, there's uncertainty and rapid change. Generation can't really be forecast precisely, and it can also change quickly. The third is distribution. There are many small generators that are behaving independently, but batteries can charge during the surpluses and discharge during the deficits, and they can respond really quick to offset any rapid swings or imbalances. But of course, Tesla has been iterating to find out how to build the software to do this algorithmically. Down the line, Powerhub will be targeted at industrial and regular customers. On the industrial side, the software platform supports products like power packs and mega packs for large-scale energy storage, as well as industrial scale solar. Now, for retail customers, Powerhub would monitor the performance of their systems in real time to inspect historical performance over days, weeks, or even years. Now, these products for solar generation, energy storage, transportation, and charging will all have an edge computing platform. And lastly, for those who would like to nerd out a bit, it runs a full Linux operating system and provides local data storage, computation, and control while also maintaining a bi-directional streaming communication with the cloud over WebSocket so that it can regularly send measurements to the cloud for some applications as frequently as every second. It can also be commanded on demand from the cloud. The big takeaway here, which should come as no surprise, is that Tesla is looking at the whole energy problem and engineering solutions to provide reliable, renewable power to the grid and is taking on the things that they see need solutions. As the world continues to transition to renewable energy, Tesla is making the investments to be there to compete with solutions before most of these utilities even know that they have a problem. Thus, this may not be the most exciting news bit, but in the long term, this really adds massive value to Tesla. Next up, Holmar's blog tweeted at Elon, "Can you show us some pictures of the new changes with reference to Cybertruck?" And Elon responded, "Sure, maybe in a month or so." Tesla Roddy contributor Joey Klender then went ahead and created an article around this tweet, mentioning some things we might see like a smaller Cybertruck, but if you missed it, Elon talked to the design team and I think backed off of that idea, so the Cybertruck will probably remain the size we saw at the reveal. I'm only briefly sharing this to temper any expectations you may have. Joey used a fan render Cybertruck for the picture for this article, but at best, I think we see some minor changes in a month or so from Tesla & Co., but we'll have to wait and see. Over the weekend, we also got some news from Elon on Twitter about the full self-driving beta and updates. He said, "Thanks to a great autopilot AI team working super hard, doing neural nets without testing them against reality has led some groups to overestimate what they're doing. Reality is the hardest simulation." Tesla owners SV then said, "How does this UI enhance the actual improvements on the road?" And Elon said, "We measure this primarily in intervention probability. This update addressed several issues, resulting in perhaps a third fewer interventions. Many of the improvements consist of fixing silly bugs versus grand eureka moments. True for most beta releases in my experience." K10 then asked, 2 more weeks and the other 2/3 of interventions cut back significantly?" Elon said, "Faults will never be zero, but at some point the probability of a fault will be far lower than that of the average human." Tesla owners SV chimed in, "How fast do you think you'll be rolling out updates for the beta?" Elon replied, "Every 5 to 10 days. If you missed it, one of those updates was a new user interface, so here's some quick footage from Tesla Raj sharing the new look. But in my opinion, I found on Reddit perhaps one of the best improvements outside of just the aesthetics. In this latest beta, when you bring up any menu that blocks the map, the upcoming navigation instructions now shift on the left, so while you're changing music or looking in the menu, you can still see the navigation directions now on the left. This previously stayed on the right and was thus blocked by things like the menu or the rear cameras, but now that problem has been solved. Shifting gears to probably the biggest news of the day for Tesla, Honda has now joined FCA in pooling their fleet with Teslas to comply with emission standards for passenger cars in Europe for this year. Honda was just recently added as of last week to a European Commission filing in which manufacturers declare their intent to jointly meet greenhouse gas emission standards. Honda's entry into Tesla's pooled fleet will not change the conditions of the 3-year agreement reached with Tesla in 2019 between them and FCA. Now, at this stage, it's still unclear how much money Honda is paying to join this pool, which is populated by Tesla's EV fleet. But as we do know, so far this year, Tesla has brought in almost $1.2 billion in revenue from these ZEV credits. Honda has really been dragging their feet in the EV space with underwhelming sales of their Honda E, which has of course contributed to their need for help from Tesla. Honda has registered around 1,000 Honda E battery electric vehicles in Western Europe all year, accounting for just 2% of the total regional registrations. As we know, Tesla is likely to make a huge Q4 registration push, now with Giga Shanghai and Fremont both making and shipping vehicles to Europe. This excess should leave enough volume to accommodate both FCA and now Honda as well. The only downside here is that we will continue to hear people say that
Tesla's revenue is fake news and their profits are not real.
The main takeaway here is that yes, Tesla's financials will get a boost with this new deal, but I think maybe more importantly, these OEMs are unwilling to create disruptive technology. They would rather just pay these sums of money directly to their competitors. Making things worse, they actually split their profits already with their components, suppliers, and dealers, basically meaning they're incapable of running a lean business, which is actually what's required to develop that disruptive technology. Big Auto is in big trouble. Next up over the weekend from Clean Technica, we got an article which is really an anecdote at best, but it's explaining how the new LFP chemistries may actually be faster when it comes to supercharging relative to the nickel chemistry. Basically, there was a side-by-side test done and the LFP chemistry added 41% to 99% charge in 42 minutes, while the nickel variant went from 40% state of charge to 99% in 62 minutes. Now, we do know that the LFP battery pack should actually be charged to 100% SOC regularly. This is in contrast with the nickel packs, which we should avoid charging to 100% where possible, so as to avoid long-term degradation. So there are definitely differences when it comes to supercharging with the LFP and nickel chemistries. If you would like to read all of the details, I have linked this article below, but as mentioned, I didn't want to spend too much time as it's anecdotal at best, but something to keep an eye on when it comes to these new LFP packs. To round out today's episode, we will rifle through a few rapid-fire news items. BMW has announced that November 11th, they will reveal the production version of their iNext vehicle. Ian Robertson, BMW's head of sales and marketing, previously cast doubt about Tesla's ability to make Model 3s in volume in the 30K range, and in the process, he said the iNext would be the real competitor in that segment. However, looking at these pictures, it looks like it's going to be a closer competitor with the Model Y, but just remember, November 11th, we should get some more details from BMW. BYD reported earnings, and they are doing very well. They increased their revenues during the Q3 of 2020 by 41% year over year to roughly $6.65 billion US. And not only that, their net income more than doubled compared to the previous year to roughly $262 million. And lastly, NIO has ramped up their EV production to over 5,000 units per month. And they also announced they are developing a new 150 kilowatt hour battery pack. This will be in addition to their current packs, which are 70, 84, and 100 kilowatt hours. Of course, the new 150 kilowatt hour pack will be in the same form factor, so to still be compatible with their battery swap technology. But that's gonna do it for today's episode. I hope you guys learned something new. Please like the video if you did. Consider subscribing for more Tesla content, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day.